When we lose a loved one, part of the last chapter is knowing their body has found a final resting place, whether buried or cremated.
But for some people, that final resting place never came. According to the Cremation Society of North America, it's not unusual for some remains to go unclaimed. Across the U.S., it estimates the ashes of 2 million people, otherwise known as cremains, sit unclaimed.
What is unusual is this story out of Salem, Oregon, where a hospital has thousands of such cremains in its care, some as old as 100 years, and from all over North America.
Reporter Kristin Crowley takes us there as the hospital works to reunite distant family members to find the forgotten.
Every family has its secrets.
So a young 23 years old, look at him there.
In the 1980s, Linda Ross learned hers.
My dad looked at my mom and my mom looked at my dad, and they said, well, should we tell her? And that's when I found out that Dad was adopted and he had a dad that was out of the picture.
And what was your reaction to finding out that the person you knew as your grandfather was biologically not your grandfather?
I was surprised. I'm like, wow. I go, Dad, don't you ever want to know what happened to him? He goes, nope. And then we just left it at that. We never talked about it again.
But Linda always wondered what happened to her biological grandfather. Decades later, in September of 2022, she found her answer.
It says, hi, Linda. I apologize if this letter is intrusive or inaccurate. For my research, it appears you were the grandchild of Ernest Olson.
The letter wasn't from a distant relative or anyone she knew. It came from a volunteer at Oregon State Hospital in Salem. It turns out Ernest Olson died in 1970, more than a decade before Linda even knew he existed.
What was your reaction when you heard that news?
I was kind of excited because I wanted to know, why was he there? And what did he look like? Looking at that, I'm like, he looks tired. Looks like he's been out on the street.
Linda learned more than just what he looked like. She'd find out he admitted himself to Oregon State Hospital, at the time billed as an insane asylum, and stayed there for the last 13 years of his life. She'd also learn his ashes were still there, along with so many others.
These canisters were originally the urns of thousands of patients who had passed away either with our hospital or other institutions.
Amber Showbridge is the Strategic Communications Officer for Oregon State Hospital.
How old are some of these cremains?
Our oldest would have been from 1913 or 1914.
So over 100 years old.
Yes, and then we stopped about 1973.
When the hospital closed its crematorium, more than 3,000 people's ashes were never claimed. For decades, they remained in these copper urns in the hospital's basement.
We didn't have the staff or the budget to really track down family members, and because of HIPAA, we weren't able to create a way for people to find them on their own.
That changed when Oregon passed a law in the early 2000s, allowing the hospital to publish those names online. Then this memorial was created, and soon after,
so to all of you that are here today,
this reunification ceremony.
We are reuniting the remains and souls.
Volunteers like Phyllis Zeggers tracked down living relatives all over the country using obituaries and genealogy sites like Ancestry.com and invited them to attend this annual service.
The patinas are magnificent, and the copper is magnificent. And yet there's an underlying sadness.
Sadness for the fact they spent their final days, sometimes years, institutionalized. And sadness that so many are still here. But there is also hope.
We've had 3,448 cremains as of 2014 when this memorial was opened. And, we've been able to reunite more than 1,100 of those with distant family members. I look around and I am overwhelmed by the number of canisters, But then I see the spaces where there might be 3 missing or 2 missing. And I think that's progress.
Because this space is representative of somebody who went home.
Yeah, you can still see the ring where it may have been. And you know this person is now with their family.
Those families span across the United States
Oh, wow.
and beyond.
Our great uncle had died here in 1937. We had no knowledge of him.
No knowledge of him and no idea how he ended up here.
We don't know how he got to Oregon. We know that most of the family was back in Kansas.
Another family traveled all the way from Saskatchewan.
Thank you so much.
And Linda Ross, who lives near Salem, Oregon now, says her grandfather was from California.
It feels good to, put him to rest. Yeah, take him back to where it all started in Coronado.
We joined Linda at her house as she officially brought her family's long-hidden secret out in the open. Finally finding a family member who is no longer forgotten.
No more wondering. We know what happened to him, and hopefully he'll like going back to Coronado.
Oregon State Hospital has a special website listing all of the names of the unclaimed cremains.
If you want to check out their registry, we've linked to the site on investigatetv.com. Just search for Finding the Forgotten.